You know, fighting games really aren't my forte. Most fighting game series have eluded me, and I've only occasionally dabbled here and there. I just don't find most of them that interesting, and I'm also not great at them to begin with. Definitely not at a competitive level, and even casually, I usually struggle with learning movesets and tactics. So you might be surprised to hear that I picked up Mortal Kombat 1. But in truth, there are exceptions to my disinterest in fighting games. Besides Smash Brothers, Mortal Kombat is the only fighting game series I've really had any experience with. And I should stress that I'm a relatively new convert to this series. I started with MK9, and even then, I didn't pick the game up until several years after its release. Same with MKX, I was pretty late to that as well, but both of those games somehow caught my eye in a way that most fighting games don't. It's not necessarily the graphic violence, although that obviously wasn't a deterrent either. But when I looked at the cast of characters and the lore, and then experienced the gameplay firsthand, something just clicked for me. Evidently, though, it didn't connect that much, as I completely skipped MK11, despite it looking like a solid continuation. I did watch the cutscene so I could keep up with the story, but never picked up the game myself. Then, earlier this year, NetherRealm Studios released the first trailer for the next Mortal Kombat game. Coincidentally uploaded on my birthday. It's like it was meant to be. It had plenty of familiar faces, some great scenery, and a delectable smattering, or should I say splattering, of gore. Seeing all these recognizable characters in new roles made me pine to return to the series, which I did, even going for the premium edition to get the game a little earlier. Originally, I was just planning to stream the story mode and enjoy the rest of it on my own, but then I thought there's probably plenty of other players out there like me. People who have only the barest of experience with fighting games, or even those who have never played a fighter in their life but are curious about MK1. And if that sounds like you, let me share with you my first experiences in this game so you can see whether or not it might be up your alley.
Round 1. Fight!
I should reiterate that I'm neither a Mortal Kombat expert nor a competitive player, so A, I might get some plot or character details wrong, and B, yes, I know that my skills aren't that great, you don't need to inform me. If it's not obvious by now, this video isn't going to be about how MK1 fares at a higher than casual level. If you're interested in really learning the mechanics or refining your combo game or character matchups or anything like that, you'll want to look elsewhere. Also, I won't be talking about the story mode because as I'm writing this script, I haven't finished it yet. If you want my quick spoiler-free thoughts so far, it's a decent story with a few good twists and turns, and way too many references to past games. We get it, NetherRealm, Mortal Kombat 9 kicked ass. You don't need to reuse dialogue from it every other cutscene. Anyway, on to the game. The first thing you'll probably want to know is how MK1 feels to play, and on that front, it's pretty good. While I wouldn't call the combat slow, it's not so agile and fast-paced that you're not able to follow the action. I can't claim that Mortal Kombat 1 is heavier than most fighting games out there, but for a casual player, you're typically not going to experience lightning-fast combos with tons of hits and rapid punches or kicks. It moves quickly enough to get you invested while not feeling overbearing. Mortal Kombat 1 is also not a terribly flashy game either. There aren't many wild super attacks that deliver 10 hits a second or anything like that. The spectacle is mostly reserved for the graphic violence, which, you know, is a Mortal Kombat staple. Of course, if you can't handle a game with blood and gore spilling in every turn, you never would have clicked on this video to begin with, but buyer beware. I'm hesitant to grapple with YouTube over age restrictions and demonetization. I'm already flirting enough as it is by just playing Mortal Kombat on this channel, so for safety's sake, I won't be showing off any fatalities in this video. But if you want my opinion on them, they're solid overall, but none stand out as anything amazing. As for the actual combat, let me explain the basics as best I can. Your face buttons correspond to punches and kicks, with 2 buttons reserved for front and back attacks. Essentially, each button corresponds to a limb, which can help you remember what to input next in a combo. You also have designated buttons for throwing your opponent, blocking attacks, or summoning your cameo fighter, with jumping mapped to up on your control stick or D-pad. I totally understand if you feel more comfortable using a control stick, by the way, but I'd encourage you to try using the D-pad. In most cases, it's better for correctly inputting special moves. Speaking of which, you'll have a few special moves per character as well, activated with a sequence of directional inputs and then a face button. Most are offensive and can be chained from a partial combo, but some characters also have counters, additional throws, projectiles, or elemental attacks that can turn the tide in the heat of the fight. Special moves also help fill up the special meter, which can be used to deliver enhanced special moves for added damage, hits, or effects, or perform a combo breaker to, well, break an enemy's combo. Some special moves also have variants, like Melina throwing her sais at different heights, so it's always best to experiment with every character to see what they offer. In addition to the tutorials, which do a decent job getting you used to the mechanics, you can also go into training mode and really hone your skills with a particular fighter. This leads into one of my major gripes with this game from a casual perspective. You can't pin special moves or combos on the screen for a quick reference anymore. That means if you need to remember a maneuver, you have to open up the menu and scroll through the moves list. And for non-competitive players, I think that's a pretty lame thing to remove. Sure, fighting game purists will argue that it's best to simply learn all the moves as best you can. Fact is though, some of us aren't built for that kind of memorization. I sometimes struggle to remember button inputs even on the characters I play often, and I can imagine plenty of people having the same problem. And it'd be one thing if this was just a quality of life feature that I wish they could add, but it was already present in the previous games and its exclusion is baffling. I'm hoping NetherRealm can patch it in soon. It's a big help for people just looking to have fun with this game, and it wouldn't impact the expert players in any way. Anyway, one gameplay change I really liked over the previous few games are the Fatal Blows, which technically do return from MK11, but again, I never played that. They're the replacement for the X-ray moves introduced in MK9, which did serious amounts of damage and could often decide the fate of a round. Unlike X-ray moves, these aren't tied to the super meter, so you don't need to build anything up to launch them. Actually, it's the opposite. You can only use Fatal Blows if you're at 30% health or less. So it's more of a table-turning maneuver rather than a way to seal a match that's already in your favor. You can relaunch a Fatal Blow if it misses, but you only get one per match, so you need to know how to use it wisely. That's about all you need to know for combat. Anything more specific can be learned in the game, or by consulting an expert. As for the game modes, there's quite a few to choose from. I don't care at all for the all-new Invasions mode. It is a repetitive slog. If you're familiar with the challenge tower from MK9, it's basically that, but attached to a slow-moving board which is painful to navigate. I can't imagine myself picking these up all that much. I've played a couple of online matches, both individual fights and the matchmaking tournament mode. Connection-wise, it was fine, not one-to-one, but no dropped matches or lag during the match, just during intro and outro cutscenes on occasion. Some players did absolutely body me, especially this one juggling me with Gearus, but in most cases, I had a fair challenge. None of the online matches I played made me doubt my skills, as crude as they were, so that's nice. In addition to offline matches and training, you can start a classic tower to get the character endings, after completing a bunch of matches against the computer. I've been playing with the CPU set on medium, which I think is a solid difficulty wall for me right now. I haven't yet had the chance to play with every single character and get a feel for them, but there are quite a few I'm gravitating towards. If you're a beginner, Sub-Zero is a great character to start with. He has lots of simple yet versatile special moves and plenty of combos to experiment with. You get a bit of everything with Bi-Han, hard-hitting physical attacks, and elemental techniques that can give you an edge if used properly. Other regulars offer some great experience if you're new, like Kitana and her projectiles and quick attacks, Baraka and his capability with his blades, or Scorpion and his zoning capabilities and fire attacks. As for me, I don't know why, but I gravitated early towards Reiko, who is kind of an odd character. Most of his moves revolve around grappling or evading attacks, and while I think he takes some getting used to, I enjoyed picking him every so often. I might just gravitate towards heavier characters, which is probably why I also like General Shao. He's slow and bulky, but has plenty of devastating attacks that can seriously wreck your opponent. And I particularly like how he uses his Great Axe, as even if he throws it, he can still decimate opponents. Li Mei might just become my main because she has a little bit of everything. A decent projectile with solid range, a charge attack that has serious reach, some nice special moves, particularly with kicks, and plenty of combo potential. But it's not just your main fighter to worry about, as the new cameo fighter system lets you take an additional combatant in as a companion. They'll help you out during grabs, particularly if you throw in the same direction, but otherwise you can summon them to perform an attack or defensive move. I was initially mixed about this mechanic when I first heard about it, as I was upset that iconic characters like Kano, Jax, and Sonya were relegated to, well, cameo appearances. I haven't experimented as much with the cameo fighters as of yet, but I do really like Darius for his heavy punches, Cyrax for his gadgets, and Shujinko for his quick attacks. While it is lame from a character perspective, I think it's integrated into the combat well. Overall, I'm having a good time with Mortal Kombat 1, despite some higher level issues. The core fighting gameplay is rock solid, and the roster of characters is enjoyable. And most importantly for this video, it's easy to pick up and play. If you're like me and you have little to no fighting game history but are curious to check this one out, I definitely recommend picking it up. It's worth the time to learn, and it's very beginner friendly. Of course, if you want to learn anything beyond the basics, there are already plenty of videos about MK1 on YouTube from Mortal Kombat and fighting game creators, so you don't just need my decidedly unprofessional opinion. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta get back to the arena. Thanks for watching this video, everybody. I'm trying out a new editing style with this one, so let me know what you think about it. And if this inspires you to pick up MK1 or finally give the series a try, let me know what you think about it down below. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment as well, and until next time, this is Cloud Connection signing off.